Hello again, everyone. You're joining us for another episode of Executive Platform's Blueprint podcast series. My name is Jeff Mix. I'm head of content and research. My guest today is Tanja Dysli. She's the chief supply chain officer of IKEA USA. We're going to be having a conversation about attracting, retaining, developing, and sustaining talent that is diverse and inclusive. I think this is going to be a fantastic conversation. Tanja, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Jeff. It's a pleasure.
Why don't we start off with where IKEA began at the start of its journey and what it was trying to achieve and where you find yourself today when it comes to talent attraction.
Super interesting topic because we are a very purpose-driven company and we have always said business and people together is going to make us grow and is going to make us successful. So we have fantastic business plans as always. We want to grow, but we cannot do that and we cannot reach the many more consumers if we don't bring our people along, if we don't develop our people. And diverse talent attraction is a super important topic for us in the coming years.
I also think the nature of IKEA's business, everybody shops at IKEA, so you want people in your supply chain from all walks of life, from all backgrounds, because they're going to be able to better inform you about what their customers want.
Absolutely. We have internal goals that, for example, when we open new stores or even new warehouses, we want to replicate the population of that area we are building in. So that means our co-workers are supposed to replicate the society that we are building our unity in, because we want to connect to the communities that are living there. So we have very, very clear goals when it comes to diversity, to say you need all sorts of people in the stores also, because we do want to be for the many. That's part of our mission. We don't want to be for the few. We don't want to be for the thick wallets. We want to be for the thin wallets as well. And that means you need to have, like you just said, all people from the society in our units as well.
So let's imagine an IKEA is starting up in my hometown. How are you identifying the demographics that you're trying to hire to work there? How are you making sure you're bringing the right people in the door?
Yeah, we work a lot with insights. We work with data to understand who is living in that area, what is household income, what is the living situation of people, is there more single households, is there multi-generational households, and then that's also how we then try to recruit. And we usually try to grow from within IKEA. That's one of our, I would say, secret sauce for succession. We grow the talents within IKEA. We have a turnover rate of lower than 30% in the company, which is, if you ask our European headquarters, still too high, but in American standards, it's fairly low when you think about retail or also in supply chain. So we're really trying to build from within the company, and we ask also people to move, to be mobile and cross-functionally moving. So if we open a new store, we usually hire the management team first, we hire the market manager, we hire the logistical manager, we hire the commercial manager, and then they go and recruit their team. And they need to obviously make sure that they have a big mix of new co-workers, but also co-workers that come from other markets and are experienced, and bringing that balance and mix of diverse background with the team as well.
I can see culture being a big part of this conversation, because if you are going region by region and, a IKEA you open in Arizona versus an IKEA you open in New York are going to have different workforces with different cultures, but they're all IKEA employees. Absolutely. So can we talk about that part of getting the IKEA culture right? I
think that is the key. Another key of success for us is we recruit value-based. And that means that we really look we go through the usual recruitment process as well, but in the end, the decisive factor is value. Is that person a fit for the company? Does that person express the way we would like to work together and express our values of, simplicity, down-to-earth people, togetherness, so we do things together. All of that is usually a bigger part in the interviews. And when I recruit leaders, we do grandparent interviews. And when I come to the stage when I interview somebody that can be a warehouse manager, for example, the focus is on leadership, is on values. I don't question, does that person have the right competence, the right skill sets, because that we can train. That we have very effective training methods, but does that person fit in a cultural way with us, and does that person believe in the way we want to lead, and we want that person to lead a unit, and that makes in the end the yes or no for recruitment.
How is IKEA identifying its future leaders from within the organization? You mentioned that idea of promoting from within is a huge part of your success, but how are you picking the right candidate? And obviously that's coming from a diverse and inclusive place as well.
Absolutely. We have, and I will share that later today, we have quite big expansion plans here in the US. We will open in the next couple of years about 300 new locations in the US. Depends a little bit on what month you ask. It's a bit plus or minus, but it is a 3-digit number. And that means in the value chain, for example, I need around 500 logistical leaders in the coming years. We know they don't grow, they grow from within the company. That's where we feel the best success is happening, that people understand how IKEA works, what works value chain-wise. So we do have very strict criteria for succession planning. In my performance evaluation, I need to bring my 2 successors already today. So I have to have, all of us have in our performance evaluation, KPIs, key performance indicator. Do I have a successor identified in the next 1 to 2 years, in the next 2 to 3 years, and so on? So we are all asked to bring those to the table, and at least half of them need to be having a diverse background, and that can be ethnicity, it can be race. There are many factors to that. And we do have talent weeks that we all, as functional managers, then need to come to the table, to the management team, and present who are our talents. And that can be, succession hierarchically in the next, who is my successor, but it could also be cross-functionally, who could be somebody working in a digital team and so on. So we do spend a lot of time on talent management and identifying those people that we want to push. And in the end, it is a bit like we heard something about that yesterday evening in the closing session. You need to open doors. You literally need to be the one opening door and believing in people.
That may be the most proactive succession planning I've ever heard. So I want to expand upon that a little bit. First of all, these people know that they are being groomed for it.
Absolutely.
They're being given additional training. They're being given opportunities. That has to do incredible things for retention. Walk me through a little bit. What is your relationship with these people who are your successors? When did you have that conversation with them? How are you bringing them up to be ready to replace you?
Yeah, absolutely. There is, again, it's a bit of a timeline. Some are ready now. We have different stages of timelines, and we work as a team. I have 6 direct reports. We meet and talk about who do we see there. Who do we see could replace my VP for final mile? Who is that? And then we really discuss it as a team, because we all need to stand behind that if we start to elevate people. There's a lot of shadowing going on. That means when not this conference, but I bring people along with me so they see what I am doing. We do push them into projects and say, okay, you're on your own, you do this, I believe in you, I have your back, but you're leading this now on your own. So it's a lot of these opening doors, giving space and stage to them as well. And in my case, usually IKEA works very much in a 5-year period. You are in a job for 5 years, and then usually you start to get pushed. Okay, could you do something else? Are you mobile? And this conversation happens several times a year. And in my case, early on, we said, okay, we need to have my successor sooner or later ready. And then there is 1 or 2 people that I have identified who need a little bit longer. And those we then also report back to the global headquarters, because in my case, there is 1 person that I know who could do my job definitely, but needs a bit more experience. And it would be great if that person could go first to Europe and do in a smaller scale, in a smaller country, that job before coming back. So we do that pretty systematically, and I just recruited my deputy from Belgium. It's an American colleague who's been exactly on that journey. He started in IKEA in the US a couple of years and then went to Europe in 2-3 different countries and doing different kind of work. And now he is coming back, and he is my dedicated successor, and will need a bit more time, but sooner or later he will be there, yeah.
I mean, it sounds incredible. I wonder if we can give people a sense of the scale of this, because you're mentioning IKEA USA is about to go through rapid growth.
Yep.
There is a leadership team, but you're also going to be growing that leadership team.
Yep.
Lots of opportunities for upward mobility within a company. paint us a little bit clearer picture of like, where are you now? Where do you plan to be in a few years? How are you scaling the team? And this idea of retaining top talent as you go is really exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting and challenging at the same time. We are today around 16,000 co-workers in IKEA in the US. The majority of those work in a store. It's about 2,000 to 3,000 co-workers in the warehousing, in the logistical space, and then around 600 who work in the headquarters in Conshohocken in Pennsylvania. And what we know is we also, at the same time, while we grow, we need to find smarter ways of working. That means we don't necessarily add everywhere people, because we need to bring in tech also to do things differently, to scale also. And then we want the majority of the people being there to add more value in terms of selling, in terms of meeting consumers. That's the part where we will add mostly. But it is, obviously, it goes very much hand in hand with our penetration strategy. How do we do this geographically? Lots of conversation. How do you lead when we open a little bit further out in the field? If we open a location in Boise, Idaho, which is always a huge, huge fan group of IKEA, how do you work then with having a very distant location from where the headquarters is or from where the next store is? How do you lead through that? These are some of the conversations we have currently.
So in terms of talent attraction, talent development, talent retention, and then also just enabling that whole culture, what are some of the things that IKEA would advise other companies who maybe don't have that same success rate? How can companies that struggle with this learn from IKEA's example?
I think in the end it comes down to enabling the co-workers to be in charge of their own development and really helping them understand, believing in themselves. We have a movement called Everybody is a Talent, and we really push that hard to the topic that we want people to find what is my super talent and how can I develop that super talent within IKEA. That doesn't necessarily mean you need to stay in the supply chain. You could easily join a digital team or you join a commercial team, but as long as you stay within IKEA, we support your development. So I think that statement from us and from the total management to say we want you to stay in IKEA, we want you to grow within IKEA, I think that is just very, very basic groundwork, that we want to keep people within the company and we are supporting them. On the other side, it's you who is responsible for your development. We help obviously with tools and you help creating a better picture, but that kind of independence is very much within our culture and values also.
Maybe we can wrap up by talking about how you keep people motivated, especially at the leadership level. You have an amazing supply chain, and it really feels like people are engaged with their work, but that comes from a place of the company motivating them to succeed and giving them the tools to do so. Tell us about that part of IKEA's story.
I think it starts with having a clear direction. Where do we want to go? Why do we do certain things? What is our North Star? Where do we want to go? So once that is clear, then it becomes clearer for each individual, how can I contribute to that? And if it's not clear, we have a lot of conversation about that because it needs to be super clear. What can I, in my role, contribute to that bigger picture, to that North Star? And the motivation is, we are quite flat hierarchically organized. From the global CEO down to the specialist co-worker is only 8 levels. So we are making really sure that stays like that. And that enables then people also to engage in a much better way, in my opinion. We had last week, we were in Florida with the total management team of IKEA US, plus some of the global managers. And we don't meet in conference rooms. We meet on the shop floor in the IKEA store in Miami. And we have around 30 to 40 people with us in totality. And that means that somebody who is leading the bedroom department in that store presents to the global CEO or to the global CFO, what am I doing here? And that engagement, I think, is something very unique to IKEA, because you then also, you get direct feedback if you like it or not, and a huge learning opportunity for all of us to engage with each other. And I think that keeps people motivated to know that I am heard and I am seen also. I have an opportunity to grow within IKEA.
Well, I will maybe wrap up this interview by saying I want to work for IKEA after having this conversation.
Thank you.
Tanja, thank you so much for your time. This has been an amazing insight into how your company is holding on to the people it needs to succeed, and it sounds like you're at the start of a great growth journey. I wish you a lot of success with it.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed that.
You've been listening to another episode of Executive Platform's Blueprint podcast series. I've been Jeff Mix. Let's do it again soon.